Instagram Reels. Everyone is talking about Instagram Reels, and more importantly, the amazing reach they're getting with this new content type. But I get it. When we get new toys to play with on social media, it can be quite daunting trying to figure out how it all works. So I thought the best thing to do was to take you along while I create an Instagram Reel today. Now, a couple of things before we get started. Number one, I do recommend you just dive in and give it a go. You're not going to go wrong. Sure, you might not get it perfect the first time, but there's so much clarity in action. So I recommend just diving in and having a go. And number two, the way that I'm going to show you today is the way that I make Instagram Reels. Now, there's lots of different ways. So you can create the video in another app and upload it. You can upload short video clips and pop them together, things that you've pre-recorded. And so there's always more than one way to skin a cat. So don't feel like this is the only way. And if this way doesn't work for you, absolutely fine. You go for gold. Use the method that works best for you. Right, let's jump on in. So I'm going to just close down the camera. And what I'm going to teach you, as I mentioned, is my way. This is how I create reels. And it might sound a bit funny, but the first thing that I do is I actually go and watch some reels. So I spend some time having a look at other people's reels, scrolling through the reels feed and getting some ideas. Now, by ideas, I don't necessarily mean finding reels that I want to copy or content that I want to duplicate, but it's more about the audio. I'm looking for audio tracks that are going to give me some inspiration or get my creative juices flowing. So I'm going to click on the Reels icon at the bottom there in the center. Now I'm just going to mute that audio there, but this is literally what I would do, is I would just scroll through. Kind of love. Cool. So if I hear that audio and I think, yes, I can work with that audio, what I'm going to do is click on the name of the song at the bottom. So we can see it there. It's kind of scrolling across the screen. So I'm going to click on that. And what that does is it opens up all of the videos that have used that audio. And that's really cool. It's kind of like the audio acts like a hashtag. So when I dive in here, I might spend some time scrolling through these videos. Now, I might not know any of these creators. I don't know that they exist. I've never seen their accounts before, but suddenly I'm being exposed to their content because of the audio they've used. And that's why I think when I create reels, I look for audio that is popular, that's trending, that has lots of videos, and that's going to help me increase my reach. So once I've done that, I can do one of two things. Number one, I can click on Save Audio at the top. So if I click on that, that has saved that audio. Or I could dive right in and click on Use Audio at the bottom. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to just save that audio and then I can use it later. So let's take a step back. I'm going to go back to my profile at the bottom there. So what I'm going to do now is click on that plus button at the top. As I mentioned, there's lots of different ways to create a reel, but what that's going to do is ask me what type of content I'm creating. I'll select reel. So let's do that now. And when I click on reel, it's going to open up my camera. So don't get a fright because I won't have a filter on. You'll see me in all my imperfect glory. Boo, here I am. So let's work through each of the different settings for our reel. So this is the basic reel camera. On the left-hand side, you can see some icons running down. So the first one is the number 15. If we click on that, that switches to 30. If we click it again, back to 15. Now that is the length that our reel is going to be. So we can either do a 15-second reel or a 30-second reel. Now I tend to go with the 15-second because the shorter the reel is, the more through plays that I can get on that reel, which really increases my reach. So I know it sounds a little bit sneaky, but just having a shorter reel is in my opinion, is better. Next one down is the audio. So I'm going to click on that. Now, I have an account that doesn't have the good music. So I don't have access to the songs that, the songs that we know and love. I have all the royalty free music. You might have heard lots of people talking about what kind of music they have access to with their account. And I suspect it's to do with the fact that I have a business account, although I have heard of people with business accounts that have the good stuff. But it doesn't really matter because remember, we've saved that audio. So instead of scrolling through all of these songs that I've never heard of, I'm going to click on Saved. And that's going to open up all of the audio that I've saved. And so when I've been scrolling through Reels, I've just been saving that audio thinking, at some point I'll use it. So now I'm going to pick my song. Now, if I wanted to have a quick listen, I'd just click on the little play icon. Cool. So now I think, yep, that's the song I want to use. So I'm going to click on the little icon on the left, like the little cover image. Cool. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick the 15 seconds of that song that I want to use. So the whole song is quite long, but we're making a 15-second reel. So we need to use that slider to pick the portion of the song that we want to use. So I'm going to turn the volume back on again, so you won't be able to hear me for a minute, but I'm going to find the point of the song that I want using that slider at the bottom. Cool. So once I was happy with that selection of music, I just clicked done up in the corner there. So I'll whip back in and I'll show you again. We go in, and then when we're happy, we click done. Cool, awesome. So now we're on to the third icon, the one times. So if I click on that, I've got lots of different options, and that is relating to our recording speed. So if we use a higher number, our recording speed will slow down. And that's really good if you're trying to lip sync and the words are quite fast. So you might want to choose to slow down that recording. It will still play back at the normal speed, but it just gives you some options with your recording. And obviously the 0.5 and 0.3, that's speeding up the recording. So if you wanted to look like you were moving quite fast or some different, sort of jerky actions. Next one down is our effects. So if we click on that, you'll notice that these are all the effects that we have access to in Stories. So I quite like this Paris preset. Look, yeah, so much better. And then the next one down is our touch up. So if we click on that, just improves our skin a little bit. So now I feel really confident and really ready to give this reel a go. Next icon down is this little flowery looking one, and that's our filters. So again, we've got all those filters that we have in our Stories, so you're probably familiar with these. I'm not going to pick a filter, so I'm just going to go back out of that. And that last icon there is our stopwatch. So there's two settings in there that we want to change. So I'm going to dive in. The music will start for a second, but I will just pause it. Cool. So see how I'm sliding in that end slider. So we know that our reel is 15 seconds because that's the length we chose. But if we want to slide it in, we can reduce the length. So say we just wanted to record a 10-second reel, we would slide it into there. Now, the other thing we have in this setting here is our countdown timer. So at the moment, it's set to 3 seconds. So that means that when I push record, I have a 3-second countdown until it starts recording. Now, if I was to tap that again, that would change to 10 seconds. So if I needed to quickly run across, the backyard to get into position before it starts recording, I might want 10 seconds instead of 3. But for this reel, because I am right here, right in front of my camera, I'm going to leave it on 3 seconds. So I'll just slide that back out and I'll just set that timer. Cool, and there we have it. We're all ready to record. Now, before we get started, I just want to tell you a little bit about where your reel is going to appear. So you know how we scrolled through the Reels feed at the start? So our reel will definitely appear in there. And depending on our captions and the time of day we've posted it and how much engagement we get and all those sorts of things, the audio that we've used, that will really determine how many people see that reel in the Reels feed. Now, the other place we can post our reel is to our normal news feed. So our followers, if we've used hashtags, the people that follow those hashtags, they could see this reel just when they're scrolling their normal news feed. And that's a decision we make before we publish. Do we want it to be in the news feed, or do we just want it to be in the Reels? The way I see it is we've put in all this time and effort, why wouldn't we want to put it everywhere we can? So because of that, when it is shown in the Reels feed, we'll see this whole camera screen. So that's all good. But when it is shown in the feed, it reduces it down to a portrait size. So if you're familiar with Instagram's portrait sizing, it's basically cutting off sort of the top and the bottom of the reel. So when we record, we don't want to put anything sort of above here, and we don't want to put anything sort of below about there. So we want to keep the bulk of our reel in the center, particularly if we're going to add text. Because if we add text, if we were to put text right along the top here and someone sees the reel in their newsfeed, they're not even going to see that text. They're going to have to click through to the actual Reels feed to see it. And they may do that, and that could be your strategy, getting more clicks. You might want them to, have to go out and watch it there. My preference is to just try and keep it all within that portrait size. So because of that, before I start recording, I'm going to take a big step backwards. So I want to make sure that I have nothing sort of up the top and nothing down the bottom. And with this one, I am going to add some text. So what I'm going to do now is jump into recording. Normally this takes me probably, 10 goes. So I would record, cancel, record, cancel, record, cancel. I'm not going to do that today because you'll get so sick and tired of it. So instead I'm just going to record it and make a bit of a fool of myself. But, it's all in the name of learning. So don't laugh too hard, but let's go. I'm going to hit that big button in the center there, and I'm going to get my 3-second countdown. So big step back. Cool, so that will just keep playing back over and over again while I'm doing a little bit of editing. So now we can edit this reel, and this is where it does get a little bit fiddly. So let's just have a look at the top there. So the first thing we're going to do is add our text. So I'm going to click on the little A's there in the top right hand corner, and I'm going to start typing some text. And then when I'm happy with it, I might just put a little background on it. Obviously, we can change our color of our text. We have that new functionality where we can do the animated text, but I won't do that. Cool. And once I'm happy with it, I'm just going to click on done. And then I'm going to move it around. I'm going to move it a little bit higher, but remember, we don't want to do it too high. I'm going to pop it maybe there. And then what we see is down in the left-hand corner, we can see a little tiny text box. So if I click on that, that shows me where that text is going to show up in the reel. So instead of having that text showing for the whole reel, I just want it to show at the start and then disappear. So let's try that. So see how now the text is kind of grayed out, and that tells me that the text is going to disappear. But if we wait for that, the timer to get right back to the start and play through again, you'll see what happens. So it's showing for a little bit and then it'll disappear. Cool. And once we're happy with that, we can click on done, and then we can add some more text. Cool. And again, we'll format it. Cool. And again, we'll format it. Done. Move it around, resize it. Click on the little icon at the bottom. I'm going to have it playing after the other one has disappeared, but not too long. So about there. Done. Add a little bit more. format it, done, move it around, click on the icon at the bottom, change the timing, pull it in a little bit. So you can see how this editing can take you all day when you're fiddling around with it. But once you're done, and we'll click done again, I'll just show you some other quick things. So we've got our pen tool. So if we wanted to, highlight something, we could put a line there. I'm going to undo that. We also have stickers. So if we click on there, we don't have all of the stickers that we do in stories, but a lot of them. And we have GIFs. So I might choose a little GIF to add there. Get rid of that. But you can see how you can really play around with it. And then when you're ready, we're going to click down the bottom on Share To. Now, don't worry, it's not going to post. It's just going to give us more editing options. Cool. So now what we need to do is write our caption. Now, in my opinion, long captions don't perform as well. So when I have put a lot of thought into my caption, told a really good story, or packed a lot of value, people don't really read it. So the way I see it is that the value needs to be, or the message needs to be, in the actual reel itself. So not necessarily in your caption, but in your reel. So we'll keep it nice and simple. Cool. And then, of course, we can pop all our hashtags in here. So hashtags work in the same way as they do with other content on Instagram. So it's really going to increase our reach. So you can either put your hashtags here in the caption, or you can pop your hashtags in the first comment. Entirely up to you. Both will work the same way. I might just delete that for now. And once we're ready with it, then we can click OK. And then we have our other setting here. So see that little toggle there that says also share to feed? This is what I was talking about when your reel will show up in the news feed. So I always leave that on, but when I'm creating my reel, I know that, I need to think about that different layout. And then when we're ready to go, we can just click on share at the bottom. Now, you might get this far and then think, oh gosh, it's so late at night, I might not post it now. So in that case, you can just click on save as a draft. The other thing is that, being able to save as a draft means that you can batch your reels. So you might spend, an afternoon creating half a dozen reels and then drip feed them out from your drafts, I don't know, a couple a week or something like that. So if I click on save as draft, cool. So now where do we find your drafts? So I'm on my profile. I'm going to click on the reels icon here. And then here we have our drafts folder. So if I click on that, you'll see a whole lot of really cringy drafts. And so what we can do is we can click on one of those, and then we're all ready to share it. So as I mentioned, this is the way that I create reels. I'm not saying that it is the only way, and in fact, I'm saying it's definitely not the only way. It is just the way that I do it. It's the way that I do it quickly so that I'm not spending a heck of a lot of effort. Entirely up to you if you want to give this way a go or try it a different way. But at least now, hopefully, you've got a few tools, a bit of knowledge, a bit of an understanding, and you're ready to use that newfound confidence and give reels a go. If you do, make sure you tag me because I would love to see your reel and check out your work. So, go forth and have lots of fun with it.